Mereka bekerja sepenuh hati.
Joget-joget aja ya, Tok. Ayo, sudah terlambat kita. Baiklah.
Totalitas tanpa kenal lelah.
Cek, cuci yang bersih ya piringnya.
Namun kesejahteraan masih menjadi asa sebatas doa.
Mbak, jamu mbak.
Karena mereka belum terlindungi.
Saya harus kasih sesuatu untuk masa depannya.
Gaji yang selama ini aku berikan, apa cukup ya untuk hari tua Sri?
Kalau Wahyu jatuh dan gak bisa kerja lagi, bagaimana masa depan keluarga Sri Wahyu?
Semoga jualanmu ini laku terus Mbak Mar. Jadi kamu bisa membiayai pendidikan anakku sampai sarjana nanti. Rasanya aku perlu kasih sesuatu buat Mbak Mar.
Jamsostek Mobile atau JMO kini hadir dengan fitur baru agar kamu bisa memberikan jaminan kecelakaan kerja, jaminan kematian, dan jaminan hari tua untuk pekerja yang belum memiliki jaminan sosial ketenagakerjaan. Dengan aplikasi JMO, siapapun bisa mendaftar jadi peserta. Mau daftar untuk diri sendiri atau orang lain, caranya mudah banget. Nggak pakai ribet. Dengan JMO, lebih lengkap, lebih mudah, lebih cepat.
Cak, saya punya hadiah buat kamu. Apa itu, Bu? Ini jaminan hari tua. Jadi hari tua kamu sudah aman.
Ya, Tok. Ini hadiah dari saya. Jaminan hari tua untuk kamu.
Bagi para pekerja keras yang berlomba dengan matahari pagi,
Turun ya, Kang.
Ya badai dengan kategori 4 datang dengan
ada jaminan kecelakaan kerja. Buat yang banting tulang demi cita-cita yang tersayang. Ada jaminan hari tua.
Boleh, Dok. Pokoknya ibu dukung.
hati-hati Pak.
Untuk yang memutar roda mengejar rezeki, nggak khawatir jalani hari. Ada jaminan kematian dan beasiswa 2 anak. BPJS Ketenagakerjaan agar mereka bisa kerja keras bebas cemas. Pasti aman, pasti cair, pasti tenang. Perlindungan pekerja sejahtera BPJS Ketenagakerjaan.
In every journey, when steel wheels turn, cutting across the horizon between day and night, they travel, delivering a peace of mind. With every turn of the wheels, there are extraordinary people working tirelessly behind the scenes. They are professionals dedicated in working in collaboration to create an exceptional travel experience. They are the ones who uphold the highest standards of safety and service excellence. They are the ones who set everything in motion before the train wheels speed along the tracks. Attentive in every detail, making certain nothing is left behind in any journey. They understand the value of every opportunity, and so they remain steadfast in their commitment to punctuality. Delivering a distinct and unforgettable experience as the train journeys along the tracks. They continue to grow and evolve to serve your travel needs better. Connecting sea, land, and air. For every train, carries the pulse of the nation's economy. That unites, connects, and creates meaningful change. They continue to learn, adapt, and collaborate to consistently drive innovation. Making the most of every opportunity, delivering solutions to elevate service quality. Serving as a foundation for today and for generations to come for the nation's future. Their energy is fueled by a spirit of determination, always to give their best. They embrace equality and diversity as a unifying strength. They build synergy, holding firm to the company's values. Standing at the forefront, building the nation toward the global stage. They move forward into the future, turning dreams into reality, reaching toward sustainability. They are always present, bringing warmth, empowering and offering strength. Preserving the evidence of progress as a symbol of the nation's rise. They set new standards and create unforgettable moments. This train is a long journey, one that never ceases, connecting every corner of the nation. Bringing people together in shared dreams and hopes. Preserving every story so it may one day become tangible proof of the greatness of the nation's civilization. They are our strength to become a world-class operator. Kereta Api Indonesia, connecting the nation, driving the future.
Climate change has become a key topic on the agenda of the IMF, World Bank annual meetings, and the G20 Forum, reflecting the urgency of global collaboration. Indonesia and the other nations are coming together to formulate policy responses that ensure economic resilience while mitigating climate-related threats. Bank Indonesia as central bank has a strategic role in mitigating climate change risk related to financial system stability and supporting the green economy. Indonesia, due to its vulnerability to ecological impacts, is compelled to take an active role in mitigating and adapting to climate change. A green finance initiatives present a pathway to sustainable growth, particularly through the energy, forestry, and agriculture sectors. Green finance plays a significant role through instruments such as green credit, carbon tax, and sustainable bonds. Indonesia is firmly committed to scaling up investment in eco-friendly sectors, guided by the principle of environmental, social, and governance, or ESG. However, challenges remain, such as limited access to green technology and gaps in public awareness regarding sustainability concept. The limited availability of supporting infrastructure also remain a significant obstacle. This book presents the roadmap for green economy and finance implementation and is expected to serve as a reference for policymakers, industry, scholars, and society at large in fostering a sustainable economy.
Indonesia, with its more than 17,000 islands, is a big archipelago country. On August 17, 2022, Indonesia issued a new series of rupiah banknotes comprises 7 denominations. The rupiah has become more than a medium of exchange in Indonesia. It is also a symbol of national identity, sovereignty, and pride. Bank Indonesia employs the following sophisticated and state-of-the-art security features in the 2022 rupiah banknote series. Altogether, the elements combine beauty, security, and durability. Rapid HD detects micro-lenses security threats with dynamic motion effects to prevent counterfeiting, appearing in the Kawang batik motifs, an Indonesian cultural legacy. OVMI Spark, which is the embedded security elements with dynamic color changing and motion effects, strengthening rupiah security with the unique appearance of the moon orchid endemic to Indonesia. Ultraviolet UV fluorescence and phosphorant technology, which produces a wider variety of colors along the broader UV illumination and contrast, depicting the cultural beauty of Indonesia and preventing counterfeiting. The luminescence of each island specific to the birthplace of the national hero, adorning each rupiah banknote, adding uniqueness to the design. Moreover, aimed to prolong its circulation lifespan of small denomination banknotes, the 5,000 rupiah, 2,000 rupiah, and 1,000 rupiah denominations have seen significant improvement by using innovative coating technology to increase its thickness, making transactions more comfortable and convenient. A combination of excellent designs, enhanced technologies, and solid materials, enveloped in historical value and cultural uniqueness of Indonesia, makes the 2022 rupiah banknote series more secure, trusted, and fit for circulation. The theme of the reviewed banknotes is uniting diversity, representing the diverse culture and beautiful landscapes of Indonesia as an archipelago country.
Indonesia is accelerating a massive expansion of cross-border QR payments across Asia, from Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore to Japan and South Korea. Today marks a new chapter as this expansion network reaches People's Republic of China. Indonesia and People's Republic of China, two major economic powers, are now entering a new era of digital payment connectivity, bringing their ecosystems closer than ever before. Cross-border QR payments are now becoming a daily reality, seamless, instant, and borderless for travelers and businesses in both countries. Through the Indonesia People's Republic of China cross-border QR payment linkage, users can now transact directly using their domestic apps, marking a breakthrough in interoperable digital payment systems. This large-scale expansion unlocks new growth opportunities, empowering MSMEs, boosting tourism, and strengthening trade and investment flows between Indonesia and People's Republic of China. It also reinforces local currency usage and builds a more resilient and inclusive financial ecosystem. This is just the beginning. Together, we are shaping a new era of interconnected, scalable, and inclusive cross-border digital payments. Indonesia and People's Republic of China, now connected in a new chapter of cross-border QR payments linkage.
Mereka bekerja sepenuh hati.
Joget-joget aja Yanto. Ayo, sudah terlambat kita. Baiklah.
Totalitas tanpa kenal lelah.
Cek, cuci yang bersih ya piringnya.
Namun kesejahteraan masih menjadi asa sebatas doa.
Mbak, jamu mbak.
Karena mereka belum terlindungi.
Saya harus kasih sesuatu untuk masa depan nyata.
Gaji yang selama ini aku berikan, apa cukup ya untuk hari tua Sri?
Kalau Wahyu jatuh dan nggak bisa kerja lagi, bagaimana masa depan keluarga si Wahyu?
Semoga jualanmu ini laku terus Mbak Mar. Jadi kamu bisa membiayai pendidikan anakku sampai sarjana nanti. Rasanya aku perlu kasih sesuatu buat Mbak Mar.
Jam Sostek Mobile atau JEMO kini hadir dengan fitur baru agar kamu bisa memberikan jaminan kecelakaan kerja, jaminan kematian, dan jaminan hari tua untuk pekerja yang belum memiliki jaminan sosial ketenagakerjaan. Dengan aplikasi JEMO, siapapun bisa mendaftar jadi peserta. Mau daftar untuk diri sendiri atau orang lain, caranya mudah banget. Nggak pakai ribet. Dengan JEMO, lebih lengkap, lebih mudah, lebih cepat.
Cak, saya punya hadiah buat kamu. Apa itu, Bu? Ini jaminan hari tua. Jadi hari tua kamu sudah aman.
Yanto, ini hadiah dari saya. Jaminan hari tua untuk kamu.
Bagi para pekerja keras yang berlomba dengan matahari pagi,
Turun Kang.
Ya badai dengan kategori 4 ini datang dengan
Bojoku ngapa?
ada jaminan kecelakaan kerja. Buat yang banting tulang demi cita-cita yang tersayang. Ada jaminan hari tua.
Boleh jadi pilot nggak?
Boleh, Nduk. Pokoknya Ibu dukung.
hati-hati Pak.
Untuk yang memutar roda mengejar rezeki, nggak khawatir jalani hari. Ada jaminan kematian dan beasiswa 2 anak. BPJS Ketenagakerjaan agar mereka bisa kerja keras bebas cemas. Pasti aman, pasti cair, pasti tenang. Perlindungan pekerja sejahtera, BPJS Ketenagakerjaan.
In every journey, when steel wheels turn, cutting across the horizon, between day and night, they travel, delivering a peace of mind. With every turn of the wheels, there are extraordinary people working tirelessly behind the scenes. They are professionals dedicated in working in collaboration to create an exceptional travel experience. They are the ones who uphold the highest standards of safety and service excellence. They are the ones who set everything in motion before the train wheels speed along the tracks. Attentive in every detail, making certain nothing is left behind in any journey. They understand the value of every opportunity, and so they remain steadfast in their commitment to punctuality. Delivering a distinct and unforgettable experience as the train journeys along the tracks. They continue to grow and evolve to serve your travel needs better. connecting sea, land, and air. For every train carries the pulse of the nation's economy that unites, connects, and creates meaningful change. They continue to learn, adapt, and collaborate to consistently drive innovation. Making the most of every opportunity, delivering solutions to elevate service quality. Serving as a foundation for today and for generations to come for the nation's future. Their energy is fueled by a spirit of determination, always to give their best. They embrace equality and diversity as a unifying strength. They build synergy, holding firm to the company's values. Standing at the forefront, building the nation toward the global stage. They move forward into the future, turning dreams into reality, reaching toward sustainability. They are always present, bringing warmth, empowering and offering strength. Preserving the evidence of progress as a symbol of the nation's rise. They set new standards and create unforgettable moments. This train is a long journey, one that never ceases, connecting every corner of the nation. Bringing people together in shared dreams and hopes. Preserving every story so it may one day become tangible proof of the greatness of the nation's civilization. They are our strength to become a world-class operator. Kereta Api Indonesia, connecting the nation, driving the future.
Climate change has become a key topic on the agenda of the IMF, World Bank annual meetings, and the G20 Forum, reflecting the urgency of global collaboration. Indonesia and the other nations are coming together to formulate policy responses that ensure economic resilience while mitigating climate-related threats. Bank Indonesia as central bank has a strategic role in mitigating climate change risk related to financial system stability and supporting the green economy. Indonesia, due to its vulnerability to ecological impacts, is compelled to take an active role in mitigating and adapting to climate change. A green finance initiatives present a pathway to sustainable growth, particularly through the energy, forestry, and agriculture sectors. Green finance plays a significant role through instruments such as green credit, carbon tax, and sustainable bonds. Indonesia is firmly committed to scaling up investment in eco-friendly sectors, guided by the principle of environmental, social, and governance, or ESG. However, challenges remain, such as limited access to green technology and gaps in public awareness, regarding sustainability concept. The limited availability of supporting infrastructure also remain a significant obstacle. This book presents the roadmap for green economy and finance implementation and is expected to serve as a reference for policymakers, industry, scholars, and society at large in fostering a sustainable economy.
Indonesia, with its more than 17,000 islands, is a big archipelago country. On August 17, 2022, Indonesia issued a new series of rupiah banknotes comprises 7 denominations. The rupiah has become more than a medium of exchange in Indonesia. It is also a symbol of national identity, sovereignty, and pride. Bank Indonesia employs the following sophisticated and state-of-the-art security features in the 2022 rupiah banknote series. Altogether, the elements combine beauty, security, and durability. Rapid HD detects micro-lenses security threats with dynamic motion effects to prevent counterfeiting, appearing in the Kawang batik motifs and Indonesian cultural legacy. OVMI Spark, which is the embedded security elements with dynamic color changing and motion effects, strengthening rupiah security with the unique appearance of the moon orchid endemic to Indonesia. Ultraviolet UV fluorescence and phosphorant technology, which produces a wider variety of colors.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Professor Wiwik Rabiatul Adawiyah is the head of ISEI Purwokerto. Mrs. Kristovani, head of Bank Indonesia Representative Office of Purwokerto. Distinguished speakers, Dr. Ratno Purnomo, Dr. Sondang Marsinta Uli Panggabean, Professor Poland Ashok, the Honorable invited guest, and all participants, welcome to our event, the International Conference on Sustainable Economics, Management and Accounting 2026, Reimagining Local Economies for Sustainable Global Development. This event, hosted by Ikatan Sarjana Ekonomi Indonesia, ISEI Purwokerto, the Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Jenderal Soedirman, and Bank Indonesia Purwokerto. My name is Hanum Putri Kurniadianti, and I'm honored to serve as your Master of Ceremony for today's program. Let us now proceed with today's agenda. The first one, singing the National Anthem of Indonesia and the ISEI March. Organizing Committee Report, Opening Remarks, Opening Ceremony and Presentation of Token Appreciation, Photo Session, Traditional Dance Performance, International Seminar Plenary Session, Presentation of Certificate of Appreciation, and Closing Session. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now that we've gone through today's agenda, let us begin the opening ceremony. To commence this prestigious event, we will begin with the singing of our national anthem, Indonesia Raya, and we continue with the ISEI March. I kindly invite all participants to join respectfully. Please remain standing until the anthem has concluded.
Ekonomi, insan normal bercendekia, bersatu padu karya dan kasar, bergerak majukan ekonomi. Ikatan Sarjana Ekonomi Indonesia, akademisi bisnis terhormat, berbagai profesi berhimpun satu, terikat rapat dalam barisan, beragam aneka budaya Nusantara, itulah kekuatan bangsa. Tanah suhu lautan luas dan membentang, jayalah Indonesia. Kami sarjana ekonomi, penggawa negeri terdepan, ikrarkan semangat dan kerja nyata, menggapai cita-cita mulia. Ikatan Sarjana Ekonomi Indonesia, menghadapi tantangan dalam profesionalisme yang handal, menuju masa depan gemilang. Beragam aneka budaya Nusantara, itulah kekuatan bangsa. Tanah suhu lautan luas dan membentang, ICSEMA maju bersama.
Thank you. You may be seated now. Then, we may proceed with the next session for the organizing committee report. Please welcome and give a warm round of applause to the chairperson of the organizing committee, Kiki Sirejeki, PhD.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellencies, distinguished guests, including the head of Bank Indonesia Purwokerto office, Ibu Christopheni, the chairperson of Ikatan Sarjana Ekonomi Indonesia Purwokerto, Prof. Wiwik, who also serves as the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, our Vice Deans, the representative of Financial Service Authority or OJK, the representatives from Banyumas local government, our co-host universities joining us online, our sponsors, partners, and colleges from our neighbors universities in Purwokerto, and all participants joining us here today online and offline. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very warm good morning to everyone, and it is my honor and privilege to welcome you to the second International Conference on Sustainability of Economics, Management and Accounting, or we call it ICSEMA, which is organized by Ikatan Sarjana Ekonomi Indonesia Purwokerto, and this year we held in collaborations with Bank Indonesia Purwokerto. So ICSEMA is only in the second year, but as the flagship program of ISEI Purwokerto, we do really hope that this program will continue to grow for a very long time to come. This year also carries a special distinction because we are holding ICSEMA jointly together with the 8th International Conference on Rural Economic Development and Entrepreneurship, or we call it ICORE, which is a biennial conference held in collaborations among 3 faculties, Universitas Jenderal Soedirman, University Utara Malaysia, and Hebei University of China. ICORE itself will be held on 15 and 16 July in Lombok, 2026, with our faculty serving as the host for these years. Ladies and gentlemen, we choose to bring these conferences together because sustainability is never about only policies on paper. It is also a matter of how economies grows at the village level, how entrepreneurs build something lasting, and also how institutions are managed with integrity. And we believe that ICORE and ICSEMA are really asking the same question from 2 different starting points. And that is also the reason why this year, both conferences share one unifying theme, which is reimagining local economies for sustainable global development. It is a theme that particularly feels timely right now because the world is increasingly asking about how actually whether the global sustainability can also be built up from the ground up, from the local economies, from the local institutions, right? So that is exactly the conversations we are gathered here to have. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me now report on what this joint conference has received and what today will gonna be look like. So in terms of submissions, we received a total of 328 papers, 295 to be presented online, and 33 will be presented offline. And these are from scholars and practitioners from 6 different countries. So these are scholars from Indonesia, Malaysia, China, the UK, or United Kingdom, Australia, and also Cambodia. So if you want to draw a line connecting those 6 countries, I believe it's gonna stretch us around half of the globe. So that's actually what we reach. And almost 500 participants joining us today. So in the room, there are almost 200 participants, and online, there are 300 participants registered as either participants or as an attendees, and this number keeps actually growing. Today alone, we're going to have 25 parallel sessions and 3 keynote speakers that already joined us today here. And all are the leading experts from Indonesia, Malaysia, and also from Turkey. These numbers tell us something because researchers in a very different places are drawn to the same theme about sustainability and also about governance because they actually face the same challenges, right? So whether the question is being asked in Purwokerto, in Bali, in Sumbawa, in Manchester, in Kuala Lumpur, or even in Beijing, the underlying concern is often the same, right? So how do we build the economies that are sustainable, prosperous, and fair? A paper presented in our 25 rooms parallel session today might shape a policy in someone's home country 2 years from now. And that is the kind of distance and also spirit that this room is capable of traveling. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a conference of this scales comes together through collective effort, trust, and generosity. So we extend our thanks to our strategic partner, Bank Indonesia Purwokerto, for collaborating with us for this year's event. We also would like to extend our sincere thanks to our generous sponsors. This year we have PT Kereta Api Indonesia, BPJS Ketenagakerjaan, and also Badan Pengelola Keuangan Haji, Their support is central, and we are grateful to have them as our sponsors. We also acknowledge our 19 co-host universities, and these are institutions across Asia. So that's including institutions from Malaysia and China, also our partners from Turkey, and also across Indonesia. So 19 institutions, many time zones, and they are shared the same purpose. To our presenters, participants, and paper contributors, you are the heart of this conference, so we do thank you very much for choosing us as the venue of your work. To the organizing committee, to my dear colleagues and also my students, months of hard work that made this day possible, so thank you very much. To our keynote speaker and also to the moderators, thank you very much for making the time and also for sharing your expertise with us all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we open today's proceeding, I invite you to engage fully, not only to listen, present, but also to be challenged, because the value of this conference is not only measured by the number of papers that we receive today, but also it measured by the quality of thinking that each of us carries home. So reimagining local economies for sustainable global development is not a small ambition, but it begins here, the conversations like the ones we are about to have today. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I wish you a productive, stimulating, and a truly meaningful day. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mrs. Kiki, for your insightful and motivating message. As we continue this meaningful event, please welcome the head of Bank Indonesia, Representative Office of Purwokerto, Mrs. Kristovani.
Ya, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Dean of the Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Jenderal Soedirman, Professor Wiwi Rabiatul Adawiyah. Distinguished Speaker, Professor Bulan Esyok from Jelisim University, Dr. Ratno Purnomo, SEMSI from Universitas Jenderal Soedirman, Dr. Sondang Masinta Uli Panggabean from Bank Indonesia Institute, esteemed professors, researchers, policymakers, business leaders, students, and distinguished participants joining us on-site and online. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure and privilege to welcome all of you to the second International Conference on Sustainable Economic Management and Accounting 2026. On behalf of Bank Indonesia, Purwokerto, I would like to extend our warmest appreciation to Universitas Jenderal Soedirman and all collaborating institutions for organizing the international conference. We are honored to support this important forum. The theme of this year's conference, Reimagining Local Economies for Sustainable Global Development, could not be more relevant. Today, the world is experiencing profound economic transformation, geopolitical fragmentation, climate change, technological disruption, demographic shift, and changing global value chains are reshaping the way economy grow and compete. In this context, strengthening local economies has become increasingly important. By leveraging local strength while embracing digital transformation and sustainability, region can create long-term values that contribute to national prosperity and global sustainable development. This aspiration is fully aligned with the objective of this conference to generate innovative ideas that connect local strength with sustainable global development. Ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia has demonstrated remarkable resilience amid these global challenges. Supported by prudent macroeconomy policy and strong policy coordination, our economy continues to maintain stability while sustaining solid growth. This resilience is also reflected in Banyumas Raya. In the first quarter 2026, the Banyumas Raya economy recorded at 7.26% year-on-year growth, supported by resilient household consumption, stronger investment, improving trade, tourism recovery, and better agricultural performance. This encouraging performance illustrates that local economies possess tremendous potential to become driver of sustainable national growth. However, sustaining this momentum requires continuous improvement in productivity, innovation, human capital, digital transformation, and environmental sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, as the central bank, Bank Indonesia is committed not only to maintaining monetary and financial stability, but also to supporting sustainable economic development through close collaboration with government, academia, businesses, financial institutions, and local communities. One of our strategic focus is the development of micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs, the backbone of Indonesia economy. To help MSMEs become more innovative, competitive, and resilient in increasingly digital and global economy, Bank Indonesia implement 3 integrated strategies: strengthening business capacity, expanding market access, and improving access to financing. These strategies are reinforced through Digdaya UMKM, our flagship initiative that equip MSME with digital capability, from building a digital presence and leveraging e-commerce to strengthening entrepreneurship and business operation. At the same time, we continue to facilitate business matching, export promotion, and stronger financing ecosystem to accelerate SME growth. However, competitiveness today require more than digital transformation alone. Sustainability has become a new benchmark for business worldwide. In the response, Bank Indonesia promotes sustainable MSME through the Sustainable MSME Business Model Implementation Guideline, providing a roadmap for MSME to progress from eco-adapter to eco-entrepreneur and eco-innovator by integrating ESG principle into the business model. Ladies and gentlemen, sustainable development can only be achieved through strong collaboration among academia, policymakers, businesses, financial institutions, and community. This forum is important platform not only for exchanging ideas, but also for building a partnership and translating research into practical solutions that create real impact. I hope this conference will inspire new perspective, strengthen international collaboration, and contribute a meaningful recommendation for sustainable economic development. Finally, I congratulate Universitas Jenderal Soedirman and all collaborating institutions for organizing this excellent conference. Bank Indonesia Purwokerto is honored to support this initiative and look forward to strengthening our collaboration in the years ahead. I wish you all a fruitful conference, inspiring discussion, and meaningful collaboration. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mrs. Christophany, for your insightful and encouraging message. At this time, we are pleased to continue with the next opening speech. Please join me in welcoming the head of ISEI Purwokerto, Professor Wiwik Rabiatul Adawiyah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to hear the voice of my students at the back here. On this side, please reply loudly, okay? To show your spirit. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good, thank you. And the other side, please. I would like to say good morning and you say good morning too, okay? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mrs.
Yeah. Thank you very much. the Honorable Representative of Bank Indonesia, Ibu Christofani, the Indonesian Economic Association, the members, and also our distinguished speakers. Yeah, we have Prof. Asyok from Istanbul Galisim University, Dr. Ratno Purnomo, and Ibu Sonda. Invited guests and colleagues and all participants who have come from near and far. We also have partners from several universities. We collaborate together to conduct this event. On behalf of Universitas Jenderal Soedirman, it is my honor to welcome you to the second International Conference on Sustainable Economics, Management and Accounting. I'm glad to stand with our co-hosts, Bank Indonesia and ISEI, and also our partners from several universities, our sponsors from several ministry. Their partnership has made this event both deep and wide in reach. Our theme is Reimagining Local Economies for Sustainable Global Development. We think of the global, the climate, the supply chains that cross oceans, and the development goals the world shares. We also think of the local, the small businesses that make up most of our economy and employ most of our people. We think of regions that want to grow together, harming their future. And we think of the small markets that open early each morning in towns we rarely hear about. Global development grows from the ground up. The future we hope for at the scale of the planet is decided by small choices. The choices of economies, of organizations, and of the people who lead them. In our country, Indonesia, it is decided most of all by the success of our micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs. This is the work our conference puts before us. We ask how policy can support growth that is low carbon, fair, and lasting. The kind of growth that lifts small businesses instead of leaving it behind. We ask how organizations can truly act in a responsible way and not only report it. We ask if our accounting is honest enough to show the real truth about sustainability in a way that even a small business can manage. We ask how digital tools and green finance can reach the small medium enterprises that have long stood outside the formal financial system and make them stronger and more accountable. And we also ask how circular business model and better supply chains can help us waste less, source responsibly, and build value that lasts. That is why our partnership matters. A university brings researchers and the patience to ask hard questions. Bank Indonesia brings the view from policy and the stability that lets business grow. ISEI brings a community of economists who turn ideas into action. Let the ideas we share here travel far to the boardroom, to the policy desk, to the classroom, and to the small business owners who has never joined a conference, yet whose work is the heart of ours. A paper that improves one local economy is worth more than a paper that is only admired. To the committee and to everyone who worked hard to bring us together today, please accept my sincere thanks. The work behind an event like this is often unseen, but it is never small. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Vivek, for your insightful and warmful message. And we kindly invite you, Professor Vivek, to officially declare the conference with the ceremonial striking of the gong. And we also invite Mrs. Christofani and Mrs. Kiki to join the stage.
Okay. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and merciful, by reciting Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I would like to announce the start of second ICSEMA.
All the excellencies, please remain on the stage with the official opening of the conference now complete. We will continue with a presentation of a token appreciation from ISEI to Bank Indonesia as a gesture of appreciation of their invaluable support and collaboration. Coming up with the next session is photo session for our online participants. Please kindly turn on your camera and get ready to smile. And for the participants at the venue, we kindly ask for the committee assistance in taking the photo. And we kindly invite the speakers, moderator, and vice deans to join the stage. For the excellencies, can move to another angle so we can take a photo together with the participants. Three, two, one. Thank you for giving us your best smile. At this time, the rector and our distinguished invited guests may kindly continue with their respective engagements and activities as needed. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue our program, we are delighted to invite you to experience a beautiful performance of Indonesia's cultural heritage. Please join us in welcoming Jagabaya Nuswantara with their traditional dance performance, Banyumas Megat. Such a beautiful performance. Well, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to our main program, the plenary session, who will be led by our moderator, Muhammad Farid Al-Farisi, SAMSJ. Let's take a look at the CV of our moderator. Muhammad Farid Al-Farisi, SAMSJ, is a lecturer at the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Jenderal Soedirman. He earned both his bachelor's and master's degree in economics from Universitas Gadjah Mada. With expertise in economics research and academic development, he has also served in various leadership positions in business development, management consulting, and professional certification. His research focuses on regional economic development, public policy, governance, financial accountability, and sustainable development. Most recently, in 2023, he published a study on the factors influencing farmers' welfare in Cilongok District, Banyumas region, adding to his extensive contributions to national and international journals. He also remains actively involved in research and community engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our moderator, Mr. Muhammad Farid Al-Farisi, SAMSJ.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second international conference on sustainability, on sustainable economics, management and accounting, or ICSEMA 2026. And it is my great honor to welcome the presence of the Dean of Faculty of Economics and the host of this international seminars, Professor Dr. W. Roberto Adawia, and also Mrs. Christophany, the head of Bank Indonesia Representative Office Purwokerto, and also distinguished speakers of these plenary sessions who are already joined us today, and as well as our another speaker from overseas, from Turkey, who are going to join us online on Zoom. And not forget to mention all participants, fellow researchers, academics, distinguished guests, and also practitioners who are joining this conference in order to exchange ideas and perspective in the one of the challenges issues on the global development on the global sustainable development. So welcome everyone. And before we begin, I would like to invite our speakers to the panelist table. First, I would like to introduce to our first plenary speaker, Dr. Ratno Purnomo. Please kindly share the CV of Dr. Ratno Purnomo from the seminary committee. Maybe a little brief overview of Dr. Ratno Purnomo background. As we can see from shared screen from the seminary committee, Dr. Ratno Purnomo is a lecturer from the Department of Management, Fakultas Ekonomi and Business, Universitas Jenderal Soedirman. And his educational background is as follows. He earned his bachelor degree from Universitas Diponegoro and then continue his master's and doctoral degree at Universitas Gadjah Mada. Dr. Ratno Purnomo research interests are mainly in the field of behavioral organizations and also human resource management. And he also published his work and research on the national and international journals and also be consultant in various institutions. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Dr. Ratno Purnomo and kindly to join me in this. Well, for our second plenary speaker, she is already here, and the Honorable Dr. Sondang Marsinta Uli Pangibuan, or should I call you Dr. Sondang? Pardon me, Doctor. And a very brief overview of his background. She is a senior analyst at the Bank Indonesia Institute, and for her educational background, she earned her bachelor degree at the Institute Technology Bandung and continue his master at the University of Warwick in England. And recently, if I search on Google, recently in 2025, you earned your doctoral degree from Universitas Indonesia. Congratulations. And her interests are in the macropotential policy and then sustainability in the microeconomics and inclusive economics and also macro-financial surveillance. And it's quite interesting to have a speaker from central bank. And as we know that central bank institution that control the money supply, and we are very keen to know the analysis that connect the money supply policy to the sustainable development. So without further ado, please give a very warm welcome to Dr. Sondang Marsinta Uli Pangibuan to join us in this panelist table. And last but not least, let me introduce you to our third speaker. And later he will join us online on Zoom to Professor Pulant Asiok. So let me give a brief overview of his background. He is a professor in the Department of Economics and Finance at Istanbul Galician University, and he holds a PhD in economics from the Business School at the University of Greenwich, United Kingdom, and then he earned his master's degree from Oxford Universities, and his bachelor degree was earned from the University of Istanbul. And Professor Asiok's research interests are in the area of foreign direct investment policy, and then international economics, and also spatial econometrics. And throughout his career, he has published extensively in reputable journals and also authored many book chapters. So please a very warm welcome to Professor Asiok, who joined us virtually, with a very, very warm welcome to him. All right, before we begin, let me briefly outline how this session will run. There will be two separate sessions on this plenary. First, each speaker will have 30 minutes to deliver the presentation. And then after all the speakers have finished their presentation, there will be a quick Q&A, another 30 minutes discussion in the second session of the plenary. And I think without further ado, we are going to begin our very first plenary speech, I would like to hand the podium to Dr. Ratno Purnomo to deliver his speech. To Dr. Ratno Purnomo, I think the floor is yours.
Oke. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Thank you for the opportunity. And please give me permission, para guru besar, and then senior lecturer, and then also colleagues, also doctoral student, alumni, and magister students, and also bachelor student. Okay, 30 minutes, Mas Farid. I can less than 30 minutes. I think 50 minutes enough. Okay, the micro foundation of local sustainability, unleashing human factor for global competitiveness. I'm sorry if I focus on the micro foundation because my research focus on OB and HRI. Next. Okay, we start with the main issue of the topics here. First, the challenge, how small business can sustain, and then they come to enter the global market. And then the second issue is about small business not only survive, but also continue to grow and sustain in global context. But the primary issue lies not only in financial capital, market access, and product quality. It lies on human capital and the micro foundation of micro, small, and medium enterprises. Because my background OB and human capital or human resource management, so I focus on human resource and organizational behavior. Perhaps if a lecturer have a marketing background, focus on marketing issue, financial background, focus on financial issue, like Prof. Arno, macro, focus on micro issue. But I focus on micro issue. Next. Okay. This is only a generic data. Yeah. We have to break down it, become more detailed, but that is not our issue today. This data show us that small business have massive potential. We saw that up to 60 million units of business, and then very high contribution to our national GDP, and then can absorb employment until 97%. But the other side, the right hand, the export contribution still stuck 15%, with massive contribution to our national economy, especially in GDP, but for the contribution of export still modest 15%. Next. So there is a missing link. Yeah. Huge massive quantity in national GDP and business unit, but only modest 15% for global exports. It's emerged a question, yeah, what's going on here? Yeah. Perhaps we can explain with environmental and then technological background, and then by economic policy, etc. Because small business have great contribution to national GDP and employment, but the other side, until now, small business continue only 15% to the global economy. The issue lies not only the financial capital, market access, and product quality, but also more micro level aspect. We call this as human capital. Okay, next. Okay, based on the meta-analysis, this published article show that entrepreneurial competence is very important. This research reviews 60 literature studies, consists of 425 empirical estimate and 26 in the context of Indonesia. Entrepreneurial competence encompassing human capital, networking, and social capital, and entrepreneurial orientations. Improve small business resilience more than from level traits such as business age, business size, and financial capital. The Indonesian subset of the data confirm the same pattern. It means sustainability or resilience of small business not only determined by financial capital, not only determined by the size of small business, not only determined by the age of the small business, but also determined by personal factors. Okay, next. Usually when we discuss about sustainability of small business, we discuss about how the policy, especially macro policy from the government, from Bank Indonesia, for minister, or from rural government. And then we also talk about the environment. We also talk about the technology. But how about the individual capability? This article also showed that individual capability cannot be ignored for the sustainable of small business. Next. So, the entrepreneur as the catalyst. The owner of small business, the founder of small business, the leader of small business as a catalyst. We use two framework to discuss this personal factor called research-based view and dynamic capabilities. I think Magister Management students and doctoral students very familiar with this perspective, research-based view and dynamic capabilities. We use this framework to show us that personal skills is very important for sustainability of small business. Next. Okay, what kind of personal factor can determine sustainability of small business? We identify, based on several research, these 5 personal factors emerge oftenly than others factors called resilience, leadership, and then capabilities and competencies, critical and creative thinking, and innovations. Compared to other variables, these variables or this personal factor is important to determine sustainability of small business. And each factor have an impact on small business sustainability. For example, resilience have an impact on survive economic and climate crisis. Leadership, especially entrepreneurial leadership, has positive impact on transform local work culture and community. Capabilities and competencies has positive impact on resource efficiency and global standards. Critical and creative thinking have positive impact on innovative solution and emit capital limits. And then the innovation, of course, have a positive impact on the exploitation and then explorations. Next, we'll going more deep about those personal factors. First is about resilience. Not only small business as a unit business resilience, but also personal resilience, but also the leader of small business resilience, the founder of small business resilience. And resilience is not only about surviving, it's about thriving. It is the ability to bounce forward and grow stronger after a crisis, turning shocks into momentum rather than collapse. Indonesian context, we usually face a natural disaster, regulatory change, and raw material price swings. And if the leader of small business, founder of small business, the owner of small business don't have resilience, they will difficult to face the Indonesian context and very dynamic environment. Next. And then the second personal factor is entrepreneurial leadership. As we know that leadership, there is so many concepts of leadership, like transformational leadership, transactional leadership, servant leadership, strategic leadership. But what kind of leadership relevant to small business? One of the concepts is entrepreneurial leadership. No longer hierarchical, but visionary, proactive, and willing to take calculated risks. And the key point of entrepreneurial leadership is about empowerment community. Empowerment community. We will show the example of one exporter from Banyumas. Okay, next. And leadership, not only about give an order, but leadership must have capability. They must have innovate their business, and then they must have an analytical thinking ability. Next, the third factor, capabilities and skill. Going to global market, entrepreneur needs at least two skills, digitalization and green skill. Because right now the issue is about a green environment and about digitalizations. And the research evidence show that international studies show that the managerial competence of entrepreneurs correlates positively with the adoption of circular economy at the local level. Next, from this link, we can know that micro foundation is very important and a basic of the link from the global sustainable development determined by sustainable business itself, but sustainable business determined by small business performance and resilience. Where come from? The performance of small business come from entrepreneurial competence, and entrepreneurial competence come from personal skill. So the links is very logic, and several research show that this link is supported by empirical data. The fourth personal factor, next. It is about the critical thinking and creativity called bricolage. Baker and Nelson published this article in Administrative Science Quarterly, one of the higher reputation article in management. They developed concept called entrepreneurial bricolage. Entrepreneurial bricolage. The ability to create something of value out of whatever resource are currently available, combining what is at hand into new higher value outputs. It's about create something from nothing. It is very relevant with our small business because oftenly small business have a limited resource and they're difficult to expand their resource. So what must do by entrepreneur, by a leader when they face limited resource and then they cannot acquire more resource. So this concept called entrepreneurial bricolage when they create something from nothing. This is the process. Next. Baker and Nelson develop and make a terminology about penurious environment. Penurious environment, the condition with environment with no new resource, but the challenge is business must still sustain and survive. When small business face penurious environment, it can be two alternatives. The first alternative, standard approach. If small business face limited resource, they will seek a new resource and then avoiding the challenge. If they choose the first alternative, there is no growth. But if they do bricolage concept, they will optimize. They will use limited resource with creative thinking and critical thinking. So the bricolage is create something from nothing. It is very relevant for several small business who create waste become energy, waste become valuable products. Next. So waste is not unusable liabilities, but it can be a potential to create a valuable product. When small business face these local liabilities with creative thinking and entrepreneurial bricolage, and then they will produce valuable products. Okay. Next, the fifth personal factor, innovations. Actually, small business do not have create high-tech innovations. They can create low tech but high context. Because innovation does not always mean high technology. For regional small business, it is often low tech but high context. Small business can innovate in the process, packaging, and business model. Okay, next. The second framework, dynamic capabilities at the micro level. Small business structure are lean, so the cognitive structure and behavior of the owner directly become the dynamic capability of the firm itself, the micro foundations. Dynamic capability consists of 3 steps: sensing, seizing, and reconfigurating. Sensing about how founder of leader small business seeks the opportunities for their business, and then optimize the resource they have to create the product, and then reconfiguration. We can show the more detailed and applicative framework from next slide. Okay. Sensing, seizing, reconfiguring. In a big company, in industry, sensing, seizing, reconfiguring usually conduct by different department. Yeah, marketing department, HR department, and then IT department. But in small business, sensing, seizing, and reconfiguring conduct by the owner of small business, conduct by the leader of small business. First is sensing. Yeah. Sensing is, for example, strategic action for sustainable small business, detect global green market trends and map potential local environmental risks, looking for the opportunity. Yeah, looking for the opportunity. And then the second is seizing. Redesign business model, adopt global standards, commercialize eco-premium products. And then after that, reconfiguration, turn informal structure into professional management, apply circularity, and reorganize local supply chains. This is the example next. Yeah. Next. We know PT Hugo Inovasi produce coconut sugar, and then they can export the product to the US and to the Europe. One of the valuable local resource in Banyumas is coconut sugar. Yeah. With the ability of creative thinking and then empowering people and then entrepreneurial leadership, the founder can optimize the local resource become valuable product. Yeah. This is the example of how personal skill can determine the small business to enter the global markets. And then next, our partner from PT Ubah Ubud can optimize the coconut fiber become valuable product. Yeah. If we use sensing, seizing, and reconfiguration, sensing, the founder can see opportunities about the global green market, yeah, as opportunities. And then seizing, adopt global standard, how coconut fiber become a valuable product. And then reconfiguration, reorganize local supply chain and apply circularity. Okay, next, last slide. So from strategic capital to behavioral investment, the adaptive capacity of small business organization will never exceed the adaptive capacity of its owners' minds. That's we call micro foundations. So if we want to develop sustainability of small business, we must consider the personal factors of leaders, small business, and then the owners of small business. Yes, financial capital is important. Yes, access market is important. Yes, product quality is important, but we must think beyond that and then build cognition of investing in sensing, seizing, and reconfiguring the capacity. And next, last, local economics cannot sustain global economies if we only build the business. We must build the person behind the business. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Ratno Purnomo, for your insightful presentation. If I may summarize, from your presentation, you are highlighting the importance of SMEs, particularly the human capital aspect in small and medium enterprise, that it is play important role in sustainable development. And according to Dr. Ratno, there are 5 traits or characters that affect the sustainability of the MSMEs. Number 1 is resilience. It is a survival. According to him, surveys said that the MSMEs is more resilient during the economic turmoil. And then second character is the entrepreneur leadership. It is the ability to empower any community to take part in the business, and also the competencies of the owner of the business regarding the digital literacy, how to employ the circular economy method in the designing product and so on, and also critical thinking and innovation. Those 2 factors also play important roles for SMSEs to play in the global sustainable development. And for second speaker, I think Dr. Sondang Marsintauli Pangeban will present on this table. So I would like to invite Dr. Sondang Marsintauli Pangeban to deliver the second plenary speech. And for you, I would like to hand the podium.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And thank you for having me here for ICSEMA 2026. Thank you. My talk today is about fostering inclusive and sustainable growth perspective from Bank Indonesia. And I want to use, please bear with me, this is quite a lengthy presentation because I was informed it was for 40 minutes. So we took it seriously and prepared 40 minutes presentations. So I will try to be as brief as possible. But, well, we are trying to walk you today why sustainable and inclusive economy is important for a central bank and where Indonesia stands today, and also walk you through how Bank Indonesia took that consideration into our policy. Okay, next slide, please. That is for big part of this. Well, we can skip so we can make it faster. The traditional view is the central bank work is only to keep prices and financial system stable, but stability enough is not enough. Not anymore. It was in the past, but not anymore. It has to be durable and broadly shared to actually work. So what does it mean? There are a few reasons for this. Monetary policy only works if people are connected to the financial system. It is a large share of households and small businesses are, if a large amount of household and small businesses are excluded from banking, they simply can't respond to the policy rate. It weakens the policy and deepens inequality. That's one of the reasons. Stability itself also an inclusive policy because inflation hits poorer household hardest. So protecting prices and currency proportionately protects the vulnerable. So we are looking at the vulnerable the most. We are not only looking at the big picture, the big corporations, but also the most vulnerable. That's what inclusive and sustainable growth from our perspective. Climate change adds another layer because the people most exposed to the physical climate change, like farmers and fishermen, also tend to be the ones with the least financial access. So the climate and financial inclusion reinforce each other. We cannot look at them separately, but we have to look at them as one big problem, one big topic that has to be addressed simultaneously. And finally, because Indonesia is a vast archipelago, shocks don't hit every region equally. We know that already. So connecting remote islands digitally and financially is part of what keeps the whole national economy resilient. And that's where inclusive means to the central bank. Next slide, please. Let's start where Indonesia stands today. From the macro starting point, growth has stayed above 5% for several years now, and recent quarters has come in the stronger of that range. Well, you may ask if it is that strong, so why we have what we have now? But eventually, inflation has stayed within our target band, which has given us some flexibility in how we calibrate policy. Looking ahead, our projections point to growth continuing to similar range, supported mainly by household consumption. So we depend heavily on household consumption and investment, with credit growth factor into that outlook. At the moment, speaking frankly, credit growth is not what we are expecting it to be, with the financial environment that is happening at the moment and global situation that I will explain later. However, there is room for fiscal policy that should push the credit growth higher than what we are dealing right now. These projections eventually is only projections. It is not a guarantee. So I will come back to some of the pressures that we are watching closely. Next slide, please. The previous domestic numbers, which is quite optimistic, exists with a genuinely uncertain global backdrop. Ongoing tensions in the Middle East, although quiet, being lenient now with the diplomatic agreement. However, the diplomatic agreement doesn't work anymore, so we are not sure where we are standing right now with the global situation. So the global growth is expected to be sluggish this year. Inflation pressures have risen internationally, and several central banks, including the Fed and Bank Indonesia, have leaned toward a higher interest rate. One direct consequence of this environment is that the rupiah has weakened recently. That's what I mentioned before. Rupiah weakened as the global capital has shifted towards safer and higher yielding assets, which we cannot provide at the moment. This is a pattern affecting many emerging markets, so it is not exclusive to Indonesia. Actually, some other emerging markets is going through this phase. But this is a pressure point. There is a point in this. It's a reminder that our domestic numbers don't tell the whole story. Even though the domestic number is optimistic, we are operating in the condition where considerably less stable globally, and then they might appear from Indonesia's, and we cannot work on Indonesia's number alone. Next slide, please. Against that backdrop, with domestic optimist projection and the global condition, Indonesia's growth and inflation figures have so far held up reasonably well, fortunately. Though it stopped short of calling the price, the picture fully settled. I mean, it's not fully settled. It is a projection, but we are being more on the optimistic side. Not really optimistic, but we are trying to be optimistic. On the currency front, Bank Indonesia has been actively intervening. So, as you may have observed, we have been hit very hard at maybe last month, but then the intervention of Indonesia and the condition of safety and quite peaceful demonstration formerly in Jakarta has helped our currency to gain its confidence again. Help, not fully recovered. So inflation has also ticked up, but remains with the target. We are watching it closely, but because of rising import prices and because a weaker rupiah tends to push import costs higher over time, we still need to watch it closely, like I mentioned before. So it's a situation that requires active management, not something that has been resolved. Next slide, please. MSMEs are central to this entire conversation. They make up the overwhelming majority of Indonesia's output and employment. The majority. They are, in a very real sense, the backbone of the economy. So the backbone, we have been go through this through the COVID era, and we know the backbone of this economy is not large corporations, but SMEs. So their share of exports remain relatively small, suggesting a lot of untapped potential. Especially if I observe personally, retail export for SMEs doesn't have enough support from the authorities. Retail seems small, but if you look at China, they support the retail export very heavily, where we can receive from, maybe if you're familiar with Shopee, before the regulations comes out several years ago, we can buy directly from China, directly from the home industries. And it is something that we may need to look at together. So how can we work on retail exports more closely so we can make it easier? My brother is an exporter, but retail exporter using a marketplace calling Etsy. So maybe some of you are familiar. So we can have, all of us can be retail exporter through that marketplace. But the support is minimal from the authorities. So every exporter work on their own to make it possible. This is an opportunity for all of us, regulators and academics as well, how to make this. And I heard from our dean that the lab has SMEs lab, and then I expect so much from it, people. So it may and must help what we have here in Purwokerto and in Indonesia overall. I'm so glad to hear that, actually. Second, regarding the export side, MSMEs face quality, certification, language, and market intelligence barriers. They don't have the money, they don't have the human resources to do that, and that keep them from competing internationally. These are the gaps of our inclusion programs are built to address. So Bank Indonesia is actively trying to address this within our capacity to do that. Next slide, please. On the sustainable, next slide, please. On the sustainable side, Indonesia has committed to reaching net zero target on 2060 or sooner, hopefully, through a strategy that spans renewable energy, transport electrification, forest protection, carbon markets, and carbon capture. It might sound very sophisticated, but actually it is something that all of us can participate. We have significant renewable energy potential. One of our research in Bank Indonesia Institute is renewable energy, energi baru terbarukan. So we are working on the research, and hopefully it can be implemented soon, because it is also the priority of our government at the moment. And our renewable energy share has been steadily climbing, but we still have a long way to go. Unfortunately, for the climate commitments, it needs very substantial investment, funding that has come from the government, because it doesn't necessarily promise profits, so the government needs to invest a large funding into it. But increasingly, private capital is still catching up to invest in that area. Next slide, please. The Bank Indonesia policy mix containing this is very clear. We are now, thanks to Undang-Undang P2SK, we are now standing on pro-stability and pro-growth. Before, maybe some of you have already known, Bank Indonesia is tend to be pro-stability and pro-growth is for the government, for the fiscal side. But now we are working together, pro-stability and pro-growth. In the pro-stability side, to have monetary policy in which we work on interest rate and currency stability, and on the other four pillars is the pro-growth. In macroprudential, we have KLM incentives, in which we provide liquidity stimulus to banks if they give credits to certain categories that we have regulate, including MSMEs and green financing. So they have incentive to do that. They have reasons to give credit more to SMEs and green financing. On the payment system, we have broader access through tools like CRIS and digital currency. Digital currency is something that we are working now. It's called CBDC. Maybe some of you have already heard about it. It is still on progress. If we are launching it, we are among the first, because as far as I know, there's only one country that has CBDC, which is China. And on the money market deepening, we have for pro-stability, we have modern infrastructure and instruments to help the growth of the economy. And then the last pillar is inclusive and green finance, which directly support MSME and environmentally friendly lending. So from this structure, we can see that inclusive and green financing is embedded in our mandate for the country. So next slide, please. We are watching closer on the financial inclusion side by now. Inclusion in Bank Indonesia policy mix run in three, like the slide before, run in three different stream: the monetary policy, macroprudential policy, and payment system policy. So in monetary policy, it supports it indirectly. It is our first mandate. It indirectly support financial inclusion. In macroprudential policy, it's directly pushing banks into giving more support to the inclusive financial sectors. In the payment system policy, we have provided payment system that enable low-cost transfers, such as CRIS and BIFAS, and it has reaches almost all, even the smallest businesses. I heard from earlier in the morning that Pasar Manis already have CRIS, which is, wow, I'm amazed. It is that, well, in our office, there are also some abang-abang who sell snacks, small snacks, 10,000, 20,000 rupiah. And he shows something. You can pay by CRIS. Oh, it's, I mean, it reaches through to the smallest SMMEs. And I'm quite proud to have this, as we know, the US has been against CRIS for some times because it took away their profit from Visa, MasterCard, and other products that give profit to them. And next slide, please. For the our flagship initiative, I can't really see that. For our flagship initiative, target subsistence level entrepreneurs, people with growth potential. So we have the potential, but very limited starting resources. Bank Indonesia have MSMEs under their project. So in Bank Indonesia, regional Bank Indonesia help to make MSMEs work better by preparing financial literacy, business capacity, and institutional strengthening, and then careful monitoring. So the MMSE doesn't work alone, because regional offices of Bank Indonesia throughout Indonesia, from Sabang to Merauke, work together to make MSMEs, we call it UMKM naik class. So it's something that we are working right now. Next slide, please. Bank Indonesia also work together with the World Bank, developing a broad library of educational materials. So the materials comes with a simpler format, because if you talk like this to the MSMEs, maybe it's a little harder for them to get it. So we make flyers, comics, videos, ebooks aimed at converting people who don't use digital finance services or use them occasionally into confident and active users. Regionally, during our Asian chairmanship, we worked with OECD to develop guidance to strengthening digital financial literacy across the region. So Bank Indonesia is actively working with international institutions to help us build this financial literacy. Next slide, please. The core competencies needed for digital financial literacy are Essentially, it's a national standard covering what people need to know, how they should behave financially, and attitude to that support good financial decisions. Good financial decisions. It is a matter that some of our SMEs not quite literate about, because as we know, sometimes they mix together their personal financing and their business financing. So business funds and personal funds. So it mixed together and they don't really know if they are profitable or not. They forgot to like pay salary for themselves for working. It is a capital that have to be included in the capital, but they forgot. They don't know that they have to pay salary for themselves while working on the on their business, and it is something that we are working on. Next slide, please. I think we can. Yep. For SMMEs, we are building payment scoring. This is quite technical, but this is important. Important innovation. How payment scoring help SMMEs? There are digital payment system. We are working. This is a research, ongoing research. So it's like a leak from us to this seminar, that we are working on how to move from digital transaction into credit scoring, because SMMEs doesn't have accountant. They don't have balance sheet that have that they don't have financial report that can be submitted to banks for credit. So we are working on how can we make their transaction into payment, into credit scoring, payment scoring, so that they are more bankable. They have access more to credit, like Bapak mentioned before. Access to credit is not easy for them because they don't have the necessary documents, and we are working on it without breaching data privacy, because it is between innovation and privacy. It's a very thin line, because some people doesn't really want their transactions to be known. So we are working toward it, and when we are done with it, hopefully it will help a lot of MSMEs, because CRIS data is very granular, and even the merchants sometimes don't have their notes on their income. But from CRIS data, we actually really know where the money comes, where the money goes, and there is also a research on our site which try to look at CRIS as a guarantee. So the payment guarantee comes in CRIS. Whenever the money flows to the CRIS, it goes to the payment. So it becomes an active guarantee for banks. It's still in a very early term of our research, but we are working on it, because it is something that very feasible, especially for the daerah 3T, because I eventually teaching how to make a financial statement is not for everybody. It's not for the faint-hearted. Actually, I myself doesn't know how to make a financial statement of myself. And next slide, please. Yeah, next slide, please. For the climate change, the risk picture is significant. Climate change is already generating real economic losses in Indonesia. Without serious adaptation, these losses are projected to grow substantially over the coming decades. Here is the meaningful upside as well. This is we present you the figures on how climate change trend have risks and opportunities for us. But the meaningful upside is that the same transition creates risk that creates risk also creates a large investment opportunity. So especially in renewable energy and green infrastructure, our president have already tend towards solar panel. So we are working toward more solar panels because, well, Indonesia have a lot of actually resources for solar panels. So it is very, and it's not the easiest, but it is the more feasible because we have also resources for water stream, geothermal, nuclear, but the most feasible and the more acceptable ways is the solar panel, because nuclear is much cheaper in my opinion, but the resistance from the people is very high. So I think it is very wise to take the way to the move to the solar panel. Next slide, please. What's the urgency of green policy for central banks? One may ask. Why do we care about the green policy? It isn't technically Bank Indonesia's mandate. It isn't. But why Bank Indonesia care about it? Climate risk is a genuine financial stability risk through two channels: physical risk, like extreme weather, and transition risk from shifting regulation and technology. Both can affect inflation, so it's indirectly related to our mandate. It can affect inflation, exchange rates, and credit quality in ways that are squarely within our remit to manage. So our role, Bank Indonesia's role, isn't to set climate policy. It's to make sure that finance systems stay resilient through the transition, support the transition being orderly and affordable, and coordinate closely with other authorities. Because we know we have been on our watch, on the watch from other countries. It's like your carbon, Indonesia's carbon market is not very developed, so we have to like make some carbon markets, while eventually our contribution to the carbon pollution in the world is not that high. This is something that I think students need to know before we talk about carbon emission in Indonesia. We need to look at the bigger picture. It is not Indonesia that contribute higher to the emission. It is developed country. So when we are urged to make environmentally friendly businesses, we need to take it very carefully into our consideration. This is our Green Initiative roadmap, even though it is not fully our responsible, but we are responsible for our next generations. So by 2060, we are expecting it to be maturing, and industries in Indonesia have adopted fully the green business standard. Next slide, please. Bank Indonesia's policy on sustainable finance, like before, is divided into three. So this is like a reminiscence of our policy on digital inclusive finance. So it's from monetary, macroprudential, and payment systems. Concretely, this translates into real incentives, more favorable loan terms for green housing and electric vehicles. As we have already known, some electric vehicles have enjoyed quite some privilege, and liquidity benefit for banks that meet green lending targets. So it's quite similar with the digital finance. Next slide, please. Our support, there are three streams of our support on sustainable finance. The first is promoting sustainable financing on the supply side, and then we are also developing sustainable MSMEs on the demand side, and supporting the development of sustainable ecosystem. So the ecosystem itself is it is our concern as well. Next slide, please. I think this is already captured in our presentation. So yeah, we can conclude is with our Green MS's development strategy. So we are moving from eco-adapter into eco-entrepreneur and then eco-innovator. So from adapter working to entrepreneur and become innovator, it takes a lot of work, not only from Bank Indonesia, but for the whole authorities and also hopefully from academics, because we need a lot of research into making this works. Next slide, please. I will close this presentation with a quote from the IMF Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva. There can be no durable growth without sustainability, and no sustainability without inclusion. Bank Indonesia sees inclusion and sustainability not as a side project, but as a central fulfilling our core mandate in stability in changing the world. Thank you, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Right, thank you very much. I think it is exactly 30 minutes, Dr. Sondang. And if I may to have a little bit summary about the Dr. Sondang presentation, she came with an idea that a monetary policy works if a large number of people engage in the financial system, and according to the central bank, that the most vulnerable sectors in the financial system is the MSMEs. And so inclusive and sustainable means that it gives a close attention to the most vulnerable one, which is the MSMEs. And quite interestingly, that a green policy is not a central bank mandate actually, yet there is some drastically change in the climate and the weather that eventually can affect the price of commodities. So it is indirectly become the responsibility of the central bank to engage in this green policy. And also, Dr. Sondang mentioned some challenges and opportunities faced by the MSMEs in the current situation. Some challenges such as we are currently facing a global uncertainty that might affect the emerging markets like Indonesia. And some opportunities is the rapid growth of cashless society, introducing the QR code payment called CRIS. It is a phenomenal. It is opportunity for micro and small and medium enterprise to flourish and sustain. And some aspect that need to be pushed is the financial literacy, because Dr. Sondang mentioned that in order to maintain the sustainability of the MSMEs, that it by helping the MSMEs who are not bankable and reluctant to banking industry to giving credit to the sector, so you propose an idea by giving the scoring payment. I think it is quite similar with the Bank Indonesia paycheck, but for MSMEs, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I think that's it. We are going to continue later with the discussion. And for now, we are going to our third speaker, who are already joining us online on Zoom. I would like to greet Professor Bulan Siok. Before we begin, may I kindly check the audio, Professor?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, loud and clear. So, thank you very much for joining us virtually today. It is a pleasure and honor to have your participation in this international seminar, and despite the distance. So, thank you again, Professor. And if you are ready, you can proceed with your presentation, Professor.
Yes, thank you. So I will start with global challenges.
Yes. Yes, your presentation is already seen on our screen. Please continue.
Because I don't know what you see, so okay. First, I would like to thank Dr. Chandra for this kind of invitation. Actually, I think I was in the room where you are now 2.5 years ago. Yes, nearly 2.5 years. I was there, like, it was a very valuable experience for me. I learned a lot. I would like to thank again for that. I will start with global challenges first, global geopolitical uncertainty and the ongoing effects of the pandemic, climate change. My slides are taking a general view, worldwide view. And when we talk about geopolitical uncertainty, actually we've got a lot to talk about because we are experiencing it daily now with the news coming from the Middle East. If you are at my age, around 50, the world was very peaceful. Maybe 30 years ago, there was a Cold War. On one side, we had USA, and on the other side, we had USSR. But now the world has changed a lot. We've got this Russia-Ukraine war, and we've got the Middle East problem. It all adds to uncertainty, and uncertainty comes with a cost. As we all experience, petrol price increase. Nowadays, even though you want to hedge against those risks, those hedging also comes with the cost. And we are still reeling from the effects of the COVID pandemic in terms of health expenditures. I mean, I contracted COVID back then 5 years ago. I still have like muscle pain now. And also for the countries, it was not easy, especially if you didn't have those fiscal headroom to weather the effect of pandemic. And also we've got another important problem, climate change. I do not know if you follow the international news. France, Germany, all those countries were hit by heat waves recently, till temperature rose to 40 Celsius. As the last speaker mentioned that Indonesia is not responsible country for carbon emission. It is really ironic that, those Western countries, France, the largest polluting countries in the world, experience those heat waves now. Maybe they will remember again how important it is to deal with carbon emissions and climate change and taking the global view. And from macroeconomic growth to resilient, localized economy models and necessity. Yes, it is necessity because, as I will show you in a couple of minutes, trickle-down economies do not work, and what we need may be macro or regional solution. It depends. It depends on how much income, let's say, inequality you have in your country. And also there are local problems and how AI, the advent of AI can help us find solutions to those problems. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, this geopolitical uncertainty, Iran conflict, Ukraine Russian war affecting supply channels and leading to uncertainty, higher energy price and inflation. And we use energy in all production, our daily lives, driving, commuting, and so on. So it fits into all prices, and we feel the pinch. And as I mentioned, post-COVID effects, increasing construction costs coupled with inflation and ensuing global housing shortage. The world has had experienced already the housing shortage before, and post-COVID time adds more to this problem, especially in my country. There was like asymmetric price increases for houses, apartments. In COVID times, we got all stranded in our little apartments. That's why house prices increased exorbitantly in Turkey. Even this continues, even though house prices tend to decrease in countries like Romania, in the UK, but in Turkey it is still high. So we still see the impact of that. And climate change, as I said, there are countries like in Africa, in Southeast Asia, they are not heavy pollutants, but in a way they are impacted heavily. Especially, also it's true for African countries. And those countries do not have large budgets to allocate to deal with climate change because they've got their ongoing problems. For example, export diversity is one of the important problems, because their economy depends on agricultural products. Any drought hitting those countries will reduce their tax income, also the infrastructure, also all kind of public services. That's why it's really important, and it requires concerted policies from the world, because those countries are poor and their own resources are not enough to deal with the effects of climate change. Next slide, please. And but as you know, general priorities given to the overall economic growth of the country and focus is on capital accumulation and technological investment or in advancement or investment. Even we see that in our economic models, capital accumulation is favored. And taxation policies are equally important, because regressive taxation that favor high-income groups or companies, and direct taxation such as VAT and consumption taxes widens income gaps. For example, in Turkey, indirect taxes account for 67 to 70% of total taxes. That means rich households tax payment, I mean, in the overall taxes is very low, and labor is taxed at the source. Before we receive our money in our hands, we already paid the taxes, and we pay more when we buy goods and services in Turkey. So it widens the income gaps between the rich and poor. Also, reliance on the market to the job of income distribution through trickle-down economies, or in other words, a rising tide lifts all boats. I mean, we know that this didn't materialize. I mean, the old economic models of old economic thought was on the premise that if one part of, especially like the cities generating high growth, will also lift the cities around. I mean, at the same time, to a certain extent, it does, but it also pulls all the resources from the neighboring cities as well. So it depletes resources in the neighboring cities. So it's not all good for the country. It has got some disadvantage as well. And next slide, please. I'm in slide 5, which shows the graph, impact of global challenges. Yes, this is the one. I chose this graph here to present because it's not specific to any country, but it's world GDP growth and labor share of GDP. On the left axis here, we see the global labor share of GDP. On the right axis here, we see the world GDP growth. Even though the world registered world GDP growth, let's say, for example, 2022, but labor share in GDP tends to decrease in last 4 years in this graph. Well, that shows, I mean, if you think of GDP as a pie, the share that labor receives tends to get smaller and smaller. It certainly shows that there's an income inequality in our world, but also it may mask the differences in countries. It's also interesting to note that in the times of GDP growth decline, for example, due to COVID, global labor share of GDP increases. I mean, this is because of the measures taken in those years. Same goes for the 2008, even though world GDP growth here is negative, but global labor share of GDP increases. I mean, this is just the temporal improvements in labor share because of measures taken by the government. I mean, this is not this is world picture, but what I noticed is I analyzed in certain number of countries, for example, also Turkey, this value, I mean, labor share of GDP tends to decrease in all countries. I mean, if you are familiar with also US data, you will see that up to 1970s, American households bought houses with their savings, but afterwards they started borrowing from banks. And that also puts pressure on the household budgets. I mean, we know that what happened in 2008 in the USA because of this excessive borrowing, and it led to economic crisis. And next slide, please. Slide 6. Sorry. And income inequality leads to wealth inequality through those cycles where those with higher income can save, invest, and accumulate assets, and that consequently the initial gap widens here. And of course, this trend worsens as inflation erodes the income of those with fixed salaries. That means labor, while the rich segment of population increase their wealth thanks to the high interest rate. And as Thomas Piketty cites the high return to capital and economic growth as the major reason as a source of income inequality. And the conclusion is that the rising tide lifts all boats is just a myth. I mean, especially if your salary increase is linked to productivity increase and economic growth. For example, in Turkey now the economic growth roughly around 2 to 3%, but the inflation is 32% and the interest rate is 42%. So the Turkey offers 10% the real interest rate to attract funds from all over the world. But the minimum income adjusts only once a year. So even though your minimum wage increases, let's say in January, but from that month onwards, your purchasing power erodes considerably. That widens the income inequality in Turkey. I'm sure it's the same in all those countries where minimum wage is in effect. So as I said, the conclusion that the rising tide lifts all boats is just a myth. It doesn't happen in the real world. Next slide, please. So I'm at slide 7. Technology and income inequality. Technology makes inequality more visible. Why? Because now we know how an average family lives in a remote corner of least developed countries, either through social media and how much they consume through data projects or advanced economic statistics. And by the same token, we also know consumption levels in rich countries on average, which may mask inequality within a nation. It's obvious that we see that in income inequality in the world. I mean, as I said, in social media, on different platforms, it was not that visible before. So those who occupy the important roles, like political parties and the governments, know that this is seen by the citizens, and that requires action. So they cannot turn a deaf ear or turn a blind eye to what happens in the country. And also technology is and technology is responsible for widening the income inequality through skill bias, technical change, and automation. And those who are high-skilled earn premium wages, while low-skilled ones face lower wages or lose their jobs. Especially in COVID times, those without job security lost their jobs, and they were not covered by the social income network. So that's why those who have low-skilled jobs tend to lose their jobs due to technological advancement. Because even if you work in supermarket as a cashier, you need to know how to use computers. So technological advancement in our lives, and if you do not catch up, you tend to lose your jobs in the near future. In consequence, displaced workers move into other sectors. For example, those who lose their jobs, let's say banks, move to other sectors, and where they live, they also lead to depression of wages, in those sectors, and that leads to wage polarization. So there are two sides. In one side, you've got those with higher wages and those with the low wages. And that also threats the social cohesion in countries. And the question we see now everywhere, this is a fact, impact of AI on inequality. So a new flagship report from UNDP, especially this is about the Southeast Asian countries, including in Indonesia, warns that unequal readiness and uneven adoption of AI could set in motion a next great divergence in the form of rising inequality between countries. And however, developing countries have got an important advantage, which is the leapfrogging, meaning that older technological stages are skipped and the most advanced systems immediately adopt. We also see that in African countries, because those without experience of physical banking now have got access to digital banking through their mobiles. And in this sense, like moving faster than any technology before it, AI can close gaps in education, provision of public service and health. For example, now you can learn to use macros in Excel with the aid of AI. Even though Excel is old technology now, it has been around for last 30 years. AI is new, but with the help of AI, you can learn how to use macros in Excel. And the question is, the question everyone asks himself nowadays, are we ready for AI? Now I am in slide 10, showing the AI Preparedness Index in 2023. And in this slide, we see a world map, and we see dark blue color signifying the development or high development of AI in USA, in Canada, in Western countries like France, Italy, Germany, the UK. And we see the lighter colors, like for example, in terms of AI preparedness, Turkey and Indonesia have got similar scores. Indonesia has got 52 and 0.53, and Turkey has got 0.54. Why it's important? Because AI preparedness in a way shows that how much you can make out of this benefits that AI will bring into our lives. And in the Asian countries, in South Asia, China is the only one with the dark blue color here. In Indonesia, in Oceania, Australia here leads the way. And when we look at the African countries, these are the orange colors. These are the least prepared countries for AI. If you have a map without any colors, you would expect that conclusion, because those countries with high income also are ready for AI. So in a way, that AI Preparedness Index also shows us that if the countries do not make necessary steps now, they will lag behind in terms of economic development in the future as well. And solutions, macro or regional, of course there are macroeconomic solutions. These are country-wide policies designed by central governments, and these solutions focus on overall growth, stability, and national infrastructures. For instance, broadband internet. And we've got also, on the other side, regional solutions like designed for specific geographic areas, states, or cities with the aim of fixing local problems that country-wide policies cannot or fail to solve. For example, such as declining industrial towns in the USA, there is Detroit. In that state, cars were produced back then, but now it's an isolated rural area. And there are also cities with high unemployment relative to the rest of the economy. For example, East Germany. And in those areas where the unemployment rate is high in Germany, we also see that right populist party AfD is also on the rise. So in any countries where the income inequality is an important problem, we also see in those countries the rise of the right wing or populist political parties. Same is true for USA. But regional solutions cannot be substituted for macroeconomic solutions for political reasons. For example, I mean, this is kind of recent development in the UK. I visited the UK 4 months ago after 14 years, and I saw that there's a big change. For example, London was not the same city as it was 14 years ago, and one of the reasons for that is the state policies. For example, there are efforts in the UK to incentivize investments or they encourage investment in Middle and the North England. Why? Because they want to curb the rise of the Reform Party, which is again the right-wing party, while these policies disregard the needs of other cities like London or aggregate growth in the economy. And next slide, please, slide 12. And if you fail to address those income and wealth gaps between cities or hubs and peripheral areas, that proves to lay fertile ground for populist parties to gain support. It also changed the country's politics. And this trend also posed threat to international trade, which has been shaped by comparative advantage of countries over decades. But as we experienced recently, tariff war, retaliation between China and US rattles international financial markets, as well as being of the developing countries, where a considerable foreign direct investment is present, for example, Vietnam. As you know that due to tariff on Chinese produced goods, the production from China diverted to Vietnam, so they are branded as Vietnamese goods and exported to other countries. And now slide 13, please. And there are also all solutions to those problems, like there are local currencies, and an example of that is Bristol pounds. Bristol pounds was issued in a city in the UK. It was used for a good 6 years, but those Bristol pounds were fully backed by British sterling. However, it cannot catch up with the technological developments, so they lost their importance to digital payment like credit cards and other like QR payment. But it was a good try for those cities. The aim was not to leak resources from Bristol to the other cities. For example, if you go to a shop, use your Bristol pounds in that shop use that pounds to buy goods from Bristol as well. So that Bristol pound was only convertible, only usable, only in these cities. We also see different similar policies in other cities, but they lost all their importance to digital payments. And we've got also regional development agencies in Turkey that is intend to encourage investment in rural areas, also the bridge gap between academia, also and business. And we have also enterprise zones, special economic zones to encourage development in the small cities or where economic growth is rather sluggish. Next slide, which is slide 14. And there are local problems, but to those local problems we can use AI as solutions. There are various problems affecting local economies, like limited access to financing, low digital literacy, suboptimal integration into sustainable global value chain. In the case of Africa, I give examples from Africa because my My recent studies focus on Africa, and I've got PhD students from Africa. In the case of Africa, problems of ownership, for example, fields, land rights prevent agricultural producers from using fields as collateral in obtaining credits. This is an important impediment to using the credits from banks in Africa. And also low digital literacy is a common problem to nearly all developing countries. And suboptimal integration into sustainable global value chain equally important. That requires large amount of financing, and therefore it requires collaboration between brands and suppliers in the area of green transition, supported by local governments, because transition to a green economy is costly and it requires funds. So that's why local governments should be allocated more funds from central governments to support local business and medium and small enterprises. Next slide, please. That is slide 15. And to what extent AI offers solution to these problems? Well, AI can be instrumental in solving the ownership piece by using AI-enabled lending systems that can help expand formal credit access for farmers who do not have traditional collateral or financial histories. That's very important for Africa, especially those producing coffee, like in the likes of countries like in Tanzania, in other neighboring economies. However, this AI model should be trained on locals' data in measuring the eligibility for bank credits and assessing the risk of frauds. This is very important. Otherwise, these models cannot be tailored to the needs of local population, and that will be tailored to the needs of people in totally different conditions elsewhere, so they won't be useful. And in improving digital literacy, AI can be useful to augment the capacity of educators in measuring the outcome of teaching and success of the programs. Well, due to COVID, still, I do not know how it is in the Indonesia, but still, we've got empty lecturing rooms in my country, because after the COVID, students got used to online teaching, so they skip classes mostly in my country. So even what happened in like 5-6 years, they were still haunting us. Once a habit set in place, it is very hard to change. And AI can be used also in distance teaching to repair used products to make contribution to circular economy. And AI can be used in the early detection of climate events at little cost. But here, again, those countries in Africa rely on the technological advancement elsewhere. Maybe this can be also prioritized. And when it comes to circular economy, each time you visit the country, you see different policies or practices. When I was in Indonesia, I was really surprised that people rent umbrellas at train station. For me, it was kind of like a moment, because it is also supports the circular economy, because it encourages rent rather than buying new umbrellas. My last slides, conclusions. Well, our century presents unprecedented socio-economic challenges and transformative opportunities for localized development. And we need like strategic integration of artificial intelligence and optimized subnational policy mix executed in tandem with central government frameworks. This is my presentation. I'd like to thank you for organizers of this conference and to Dr. Chanto for the invitation. I hope I haven't exceeded the time allocated to me. I think it's been like 30 minutes. Thank you very much.
All right. We sincerely appreciate your time, your insight, and your contribution to this plenary session. And give a round of applause for Professor Asia for delivering insightful presentation. And if I may to have a little summarize about the Professor Asia has already mentioned, I think there are 5 topics or 5 points that could be concluded, number one is that global challenges. We face the global uncertainty and the ongoing effect of pandemic and climate change, that it has contributed to increase in income inequality. And Professor Esak also criticized the pro-market policy that seems not to be works, and the rising tide to lift all boat is a myth. So ongoing inequality because of disproportionate share of wealth make this impossible to reach the pro-market policy. And also, he mentioned the advance in technology, the invention of cutting-edge technology and machine learning has affected the income inequality as well, by forcibly change the job market structure, pushing in the automatization and high requirement skill on the job market, which eventually wiped out low skilled labor out of the market. And the effect is the increasing supply of labor in the informal sectors, and in the end it will force down the general wage. And Professor Seok gave some solution. Number one, it is related to the regional economy policy to address this inequality, and government intervention, especially from local government, that it is vital to help solving the regional inequality and supporting the area of green transition, and also employing the artificial intelligence to economy, such as introducing the AI to the farmers to help predict the weather, or introducing the AI to banking industry to identify the possibility of fraud, and even to our educators, introducing the AI to help, such as repairing product, which are the essence of the circular economy characteristic. So thank you again, Professor Esyok, for your time and presentation. And right now, we are going to have a second session, which is the Q&A. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have at least 30 minutes for discussion, and to ensure we can accommodate as many participants as possible, we will take around 3 to 4 questions and comments. So, we have a following procedures for this Q&A session. Number one, for participants in the room, please raise your hands and wait for the microphone. And then for participants joining online, please use the raise hand feature or write your name and institution in the chat box, and the committee will assist in arranging the queue. And for all of you, when called upon, please introduce yourself by stating your name and your institution before asking the questions. And if possible, please indicate which speaker that your question is addressed to. So if your question is addressed to all speakers, you also need to mention that. And I think for the first opportunity, we will take the first question from the participant in the first row. Okay, Bu Poppy.
Thank you very much for the opportunities, and thank you for the speakers for sharing your ideas and your experience related to sustainability. I am Poppy. I'm a lecturer at Faculty of Economics and Business. My question may go to any speakers because it's rather universal. Well, there are some issues related to sustainability when it comes to MSMEs. So it's like, I would say it's like a cycle. They have limited capital, and then it will impact on how they will engage in the sustainability. And then when we talk about the reporting itself, it needs resources as well. I mean financial resources. So my question is it really, what is it? My question is do we need some specific definition of sustainability when we talk about MSMEs. I mean, we know that sustainability is a multi-dimensional concepts, right? So can we just make a specific definition for MSME so that they do not have to grab all the dimensions, and then accordingly we will create some sort of what is it, measure to what is it, to metrics to measure the performance, the sustainability performance for MSMEs. That's all my question. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Bu Poppy, for the questions. And we are going to pull the questions first. And any other questions from this audience in this room? Yeah. State your name, your institution, and the question addressed to which speaker.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone in this room. Thank you for allowing me to ask some question. I have two questions. The first one for the first speaker.
Your name? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Introduce myself. My name is Shahrul Hakim. I'm a student of the from the Faculty of Economics and Business, Jenderal Soedirman University. The first question is for the first speaker. In the first presentation, as mentioned, that characteristic of business owner and the own or the MSMEs is the most important factor how business grows. But as we know, how this characteristic impact the business is such a different things. I think my question is how the personal characteristic of the business owner impact or influence the business decision in their own business. Like I read many articles about that we are to glorifying something like good personality, good characteristic lead to the good growth, but not all the thing lead to this one, because business is something different in my opinion. So, and then the second question is for the third speaker. As mentioned in the presentation, the speaker mentioned that inequality income lead to the inequality wealth. How this influence, how the transmission of this influence from the income inequality to the wealth inequality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mas Sahrul Hakim, for the questions. I think the last question for, yes, the left, right corner. Right corner. I think Bambang or which one? I think the corner one. Pak Chandra, Mas Chandra, belakang sana, at the back.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Royan Furkon. Thank you, speakers, for the explanation. My question is, the topics of sustainability is quite diverse. There is a concept of green economy, currently called sustainable economy, and then blue economy, circular economy, bioeconomy, the concept of ESG, carbon trading. My question is how we decide which most important for academician to research and for government to focus using which concept. That's my question. Thank you.
This question is addressed to all speakers or?
Yes, all speakers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Last questions, I think. Is there any last questions? Okay. The chairperson itself.
Thank you very much, the moderator. So I have a questions for Bu Sondang. I think the mic doesn't want me to speak something. Yeah. Okay, Bu Sondang. So I want to connect this with the issue that you raised about with my own research. So I did a couple of research last year regarding the greenwashing because that's the area that I'm concerned about integrity, about corruptions, and so related to the sustainability issue, I'm trying to explore about the greenwashing. So, to my knowledge, I think Indonesian government has been like pushing, right, to release the green sukuk, and to my knowledge as well, Bank Indonesia also like pushing the financial sectors to also making some sort of like platform for the green finances. But I think for the green finance or the green sukuk itself, I think in many part of the world, and I think the last one scandal comes from the Deutsche Bank, in which that they had the US regulators and also the German regulators, they raised the concerns about the greenwashing, in which that they stated their green activities more than they should claim, right? So I think my questions to you is that to what extent actually Bank Indonesia as the central bank put some sort of like regulatory to eventually assess like this is actually like some sort of like measurement. So what we call as a green activities or like green, finance, for example, are there some limit or regulations that the institutions should meet in order to like claim that they have some sort of like a green finance? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think it is for Dr. Sondang. And we have a question from YouTube because we aired online on YouTube. It is from, one of the our YouTube channels. It is for Dr. Ratno and Dr. Sondang. It is related to how should governments and central bank redesign macroeconomic policies so they not only preserve stability but also strengthen entrepreneurial leadership and resilience to build a truly sustainable SMEs ecosystem. Second question, from your perspective, what macroeconomics policies should be prioritized to ensure that the SMEs become active participants in the green economy? So I think those 4 questions in this session I will give the opportunity to Dr. Ratno to answer the first question from Bu Poppy related to the do we have a specific definitions if we're talking about the MSMEs sustainability definition for MSMEs?
Okay, thank you, Pak Farid. Question from Bu Poppy and from Royan is relates each other, yeah, about the sustainability. Do we need specific definition about sustainability, and which one important? Sustain in green economy, sustain in financial, or sustain in other aspect? I think it depend on the context. Yeah, sustainability is about how small medium enterprises not only survive in their own business but also growth for their own business. Is it the same with the globalizations? Is it all of the small business must enter the global market? That's the big question. Actually, the answer is actually not all of the small business need to enter the global market. So we need definition also about what are the indicators of globalization for small business. So I think the definition about sustainability, it can be various from every person and from every expert, but the key point is
But the key point is we can measure that performance of small business not only survive but also growth. Even in financial, even in green economy, it's depend on the context of the small business, ya. And then langsung aja ya Mas Farid ya. Continue to Pak Mas Sarul Hakim about the personal factors. Mas Sarul Hakim read more several articles that personal factors can determine or can influence how the owner of small business decision making. Yeah. And then what must we do? Firstly, we have to understand that personal factors is a broad concept. Yeah, it's a broad concept. Personal factors can be developed. Personal factors can be taught. Personal factor can be trained. Yeah, but actually there is a part of trait of personal factor that specific personality was born. Yeah, specific personality was born. But personal factor I discussed in this presentation about resilience and then leadership, especially entrepreneurial leadership, and then capabilities and competencies, and then critical and creative thinking, and also the innovations. All of these personal factors can be trained, can be developed, can be taught. What are the consequences? So the policymaker, especially rural development, and for example, Bank Indonesia Purwokerto, I do appreciate when they create a program for the community. We call it as paguyuban of small business for coaching, mentoring, sharing. So the owner of small business can develop their resilience, and then small business owner can build their leadership capabilities, and then they can sharing each other, so they can improve the ability to critical and creative thinking, and also sharing about the innovations. So actually the personal factor can be developed, can be taught, and can be trained. So we cannot ignore that part. And then policymaker can create a program to improve those personal factor of owner small business. And I think that's all. Mas Farid also answered Pak Final from YouTube, yeah. So the policymaker can focus on the not only give a grant, not only give supporting facilities, but also concern about the psychological part, cognitive part, and the innovation part of the owner of small business.
Okay, thank you for the answers, Ratno. And for Dr. Sondang, you can answer questions from the audience.
Thank you. First questions from Ibu Poppy. Do we need specific definition for sustainability in MSMEs? This is a very interesting, intriguing question, actually. Well, to be direct, I did a quick search on sustainability. There is three kind of sustainability: economic, environmental, and social sustainability. So in my opinion, for the economic and social side, I don't think there need to be a specific definition for MSME. So because it is inherent in their business. If they cannot socially sustainable, of course they cannot survive. And if they cannot economically sustainable, they also cannot survive. Maybe the major problem will be the environmental sustainability, because it costs very much for them to be environmentally friendly.